MTG Scoundrels, it's in the cardboard. Ladies and gentlemen, scoundrels of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mondays. Today on the docket, we have ourselves some Selesnya Energy versus Esper Goryos. Selesnya Energy being one of the new energy variants that's out there. Of course, Boros Energy being the most prevalent. And Selesnya Energy focusing on Guide and Pride, as well as some Birthing Ritual and Brightglass Gearhulks. Here's a Flooded Strand in passing. Lush Portico surveilling. And putting a Temple Garden into the bin. Flooded Strand getting cracked on the end step. Esper Goryos, of course, one of the most represented decks over at the Pro Tour. Mostly thanks to its interaction, as well as its card advantage. Ephemerate Solitude for interaction, very strong. As well as Quantum Riddler and Atraxa Unifier for card advantage. Taking advantage of the fact that they have Ephemerate to keep them on the battlefield. And double up the triggers. March of Otherworldly Light getting surveilled in after the Meticulous Archive was found off the Flooded Strand. Here's a Swamp and Pass. Arid Mesa getting cracked. Here's a White Orchid Phantom taking out the Meticulous Archive for the opponent. Just finding a plains off that Arid Mesa, and the Goryos player finding an island. White Orchid Phantom, a pretty solid inclusion for the Selesnya Energy list. Helps make the matchup into Tron and some of the Eldrazi ramp decks better. And being that Esper Goryo tends to only run 3 basics. Oh, here's a Quantum Riddler. It actually can be somewhat effective if you can double up the triggers a bit. Here's a Flooded Strand. That'll get cracked. Probably finding a white source. Yep, finding a white source to ephemerate the Quantum Riddler here to draw a second card. Keep the Riddler on the battlefield. Godless Shrine being the land found. That'll bring us to 19-16. Pass on the turn. Alright, there's an Air Temple. That's going to be a Solitude, exiling a Witch Enchanter for the Evoke. And Ephemerate's going to keep it on the battlefield. So we're at 19-20 and Riddler is gone. Now we're at 19-18 thanks to White Orchid Phantom getting in for 2. Alright, there's a Psychic Frog and a Breeding Pool for turn. Untapping, and looks like the Ephemerate's going to go ahead and get cast and target the Solitude here. Ooh, Atraxa getting discarded to the Psychic Frog. So, gaining 2 life here. Here's a Temple Garden. That'll bring us to 17-18. White Orchid Phantom getting in for 2. And here is a Brightglass Gearhulk. So I'm going to go searching for 2 permanent cards, CMC 1 or less. And no, they want us to say mana value at this point, but it's converted mana cost, let's be honest. So the real question is, alright, going for Guide and Pride here, which is powerful. But you kind of know, yeah, there it is. There's a Goryos Vengeance in the end step. You kind of, now flipping over 10 cards off the Atraxa trigger, you kind of probably wanted to go get Static Prison there and hope for the best in that fashion. But that is the situation you are dealt. So, looks like Ephemerate Land, Thoughtseize, and an Atraxa will be taken off of the Atraxa Enter the Battlefield trigger. Almost forgot their Grizzlebrand there. This is the problem with this deck. If you don't have an immediate answer for Atraxa, things can get hairy pretty quick with the amount of card advantage produced. So now Esper Goryo is essentially off to the races. Here's a Thoughtseize taking 2. Ooh. Just a land guide and Pride here. Probably taking the guide to stop the life gain. I still think you should have went and gotten the Static Prison there. There's a Plains for turn. Mostly just a... You don't know if they're going to hit the Thoughtseize. They play Thoughtseize less than some of their other spells. Atraxa getting in for 7. Esper Goryos will gain 7 here too. Oh, and there's the Ephemerate to keep the Atraxa on the battlefield, and we will go at it again. 10 cards. This is why pros love this deck. Well, that and it's pretty good into the Boros Energy matchup. Another Ephemerate, Solitude, Prismatic Ending, Quantum Riddler. Saw Winter Night Stories in there as well. So you take the Solitude here for sure, and probably the Prismatic Ending. The Ephemerate, incredibly strong. And now you're practically locked out of the game if you're the Selesnya Energy player. I know you have 3 strong creatures on the battlefield, but open mana available for the Esper Goryos player. So with all that in hand, there's not a whole bunch you can do. Discarding to hand size. Just getting rid of a Marsh Flats. Looks like the energy player just keeping track of lands here. Something may have ended up getting tapped. Drawing for turn. Looked like a 5th land there. Yes, indeed, another snow-covered plains. And looking like deciding to pass the turn. Hollowed Fountain. Coming in untapped. Brings us to about 10 to 19, and then the Atraxa's getting in. Brings us to 3 to... well, a lot. 26 to be exact. 6 open mana. Can just hardcast the Solitudes in hand. And ephemerate it if they'd like. Well, there's a Teferi. End step activating the Air Temple, which still doesn't make your stuff quite big enough. There's another Brightglass Gearhulk. So maybe finding the Static Prison here and a Guide of Souls? There's the Static Prison. There's the Guide of Souls. Cracking the Arid Mesa going to 2? Finding another snow-covered plains. But you know what's in the Esper Goryo's player's hand. Static Prison getting cast. I actually kind of think your best bet, well, attacking in here. I think the best bet was actually not, being that's a very uptick there, you could cast a Prismatic Ending for free. That's going to bring back the Atraxa, unfortunately. But to complete the thought, it might have actually been right to just go Guide Pride there. Still would have been not enough. Yeah, it still wouldn't have been enough. It would have ended up solituding the White Orchid Phantom. And that'll do it. Game 1. Going to Esper Goryos. Thank you all for watching us here at MTGScoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend about the channel. If you haven't checked out our last video, we put out our recent Modern format overview called What Should You Play in Modern Right Now? Going over the decks that you would see at the Pro Tour, as well as other parts of the Modern format. And if you're coming to this video from that one, welcome. Glad to have you here on the channel. We do everything modern here. Modern gameplay, modern commentary. It's the format we love. Moving on to sideboards. If you're Esper Goryos, I wouldn't be bringing in more than really just 3 Wrath of Skies here. just to deal with the board. Maybe another Thoughtseize. If there's a fourth one in the sideboard and not playing a fourth one in the main. Wrath the Skies, of course, can really blow out the Selesnya Energy player. Especially if they load up on 1 and 2 drops. Then Wrath the Skies really can be effective early. And if you're the Selesnya Energy player, I really only think you'll see the 2 copies of Rest in Peace on the board come in here, which unfortunately isn't too strong into March of Otherworldly Light and into Prismatic Ending. However, kind of just have to hope they stick for a little bit and at least delay the opponent long enough for you to get a good enough board presence they can possibly get through a Wrath of Skies, and then hope to rebuild with the Brightglass, Gearhulk, and Birthing Ritual. Moving on to our ads, definitely check out our friends over at Grove Warden Games, a wonderful place to store them out, host of our channel. Link to their store is in the description below. And of course, check out artists of our channel, Sean Gerard, that make wonderful art. Whether you're looking for something in a professional setting or just looking to get a gift for a friend, their Instagram is up on the screen with the QR code, and their email's in the description below. They are open to new projects. And last but not least, check out our socials. We are at MTGScoundrels over on Blue Sky, Twitter, and Facebook, most active over on Blue Sky, and of course, active in the comments below. Let us know what you thought of the weekend's Pro Tour. Unfortunately, they were doing limited for top 8. However, they were in fact bringing back the Magic Hall of Fame, which I know I did a video about that earlier this year as something that needed to happen, so glad they are doing that. Let us know how you feel about the details of that. And with that, we will move on to game number 2. All right, both players keeping 7. And getting started off quickly here with 3 points of damage off of the backside of the Witch Enchanter into a Guide of Souls. And passing the turn. Undercity Sewers to start for the Esper Goryo's player. Putting a Teferi Time Raffler into the bin. Here's a Flooded Strand getting cracked. Into a White Orchid Phantom. Gaining a life off the Guide of Souls, getting an energy. And Guide of Souls will get in for 1 as well. That'll bring us to 15 to 19. After that Temple Garden is found. And Island being found off of the White Orchid Phantom trigger of destroying the Undercity Sewers. Marsh Flats getting cracked. Into a Psychic Frog. That is what Esper Goryo wants to do. Get that discard outlet out there on turn 2. Going to 16 after finding that Godless Shrine. Here's another Temple Garden. Going to 13. Into another Guide of Souls. So gaining that life. And 2 mana into a Birthing Ritual. Birthing Ritual, an incredible value card. Triggering on the end step, deciding not to attack in with the White Orchid Phantom. Oh, a Halia, a Ranger Captain of Eos. Going for another White Orchid Phantom, that's not the worst idea. Man, Ranger Captain would have been better there. Find a card to replace itself. Then you could sack it in the upkeep to at least get a turn off from a possible Goryos Vengeance Atraxa situation. And also a 3-drop to go find to find Brightglass Gearhulk off the Birthing Ritual isn't shabby either. Finding an island there. I see 2 lands in hand for the Goryos player. Here's a Marsh Flats, that's going to get cracked. There's a second Psychic Frog. Finding a Watery Grave off that Marsh Flats. So now you have to wonder, is it worth blocking an attacking Psychic Frog here with the White Orchid Phantom? Jumping the frog. Frog getting in. Ooh, deciding to take the 1 and allow the Goryos player to draw a card. Who drew into a Solitude as well. Two mana. Here's a Voice of Victory. Not a shabby card to have to force the Goryos player to only play on their turn. Oh, there is a Solitude and a Wrath the Skies in hand with a 4th land? Not attacking in, moving to the end step. Oh, can't get the Brightglass Gearhulk because didn't get a 3-drop last turn. Passing from there. There's the Flooded Strand. Attacking for 2. On the ground even. Only blocking 1? Just not seeing the Wrath of the Skies coming in hand. Well, that pretty much sold it. Alright. Sure gets to draw another card. There is a fetch. Finding the Hollowed Fountain. Taking 3. And there's the Wrath of the Skies for 2. So I'll clear the board. Back to square one. There's another birthing ritual. Drawing a card for turn. There is a breeding pool. That'll bring us to 16-8. And a full-costed Quantum Riddler here. Drawing a card. That is what these Goryos decks do best. Alright, there's a Skyclave Apparition. It's not going to target anything here. And moving to the end step, getting a Birthing Ritual trigger. Well, can get something lower than 4 here. But there is a Witch Enchanter. Maybe try to high roll the next turn. Voice of Victory there as well. That might be a decent choice. Force the Goryos player to tap out to deal with it. Deciding to go with the Witch Enchanter. Which, trying to high roll right now may not be the best strategy. Polluted Delta is land for turn. 6 lands on the battlefield. Quantum Riddler going to attack in. I'll bring us to 12-8. And passing from there. Handful of cards. 6 mana available. Witch Enchanter going to attack for 2. Energy player. Seeing if a bluff will be called. Oh, Faithful Mending getting exiled to the Solitude for the Evoke. And here's an Ephemerate to keep it on the battlefield. So gaining 2 life off of the Skyclave Apparition. There is a Swamp. Attacking him for 7. Taking it. That'll bring us to 7-11. Exactly where the Goryos player wants to be. There's a Guide of Souls. Oof, and there is a hard cast Solitude. Gaining 1 life, passing the turn. Double Solitude in hand for the Selesnya Energy player. Goryos attacking in. Solitude going to be evoked here. Unfortunately, having to pitch that Solitude. So they'll go 8-15 and then 2-21. Shows the rest in peace. And that'll do it. Game, set, match. Going to Esper Goryos. Thank you all so much for watching us here at MTG Scoundrels. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. And we will see you all next week.